if you want to twist yourself up a little bit, spend a little time on this theory, and it will free you from anything. I don't care if you have aches, pains, whatever's happening. Mind, you can't stand thoughts, you talk negative about yourself. When you could find the upside to all the bad things and the downside to all the good things, until there's point, it's neutral, you'll remove so much suffering. I don't care what it is. And the example I always use is this. If a tsunami, you guys know a big wave comes in, it kills 100,000 people. Is it good or bad? You would say it's bad, 100,000 people. But wait a minute. If it was 10 years later, it would have killed maybe 100 million. But because of that, we put in alarms, evacuation things. So was that tsunami good or bad?
Welcome back to another episode of Mosaic Minds podcast. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and click on the bell so that you get any notifications that we have. Like I'd mentioned last week, we have really cool things coming up and you're not going to want to miss them. So this way you'll get notification for them. And if you've noticed, we have a guest host today. Jason is out, so we have Tramel Velez in the studio. You may remember him from last week when we interviewed him and his wife, Deasia, for their YouTube channel, Deasia and Tramel. He will be guest hosting today, and we will be interviewing Mike Agugliaro. Mike is a very successful business and life coach. He has sold 2 8-figure businesses. He has published many books, and he is the CEO and founder of Food Dog Group. If you don't know what Food Dog Group is, don't feel bad. I didn't either, but he's going to explain it to us today and all the other things that he is involved in. So let's go ahead and welcome Mike to the show. It's real interesting. It seems like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like that what you do is kind of the opposite of what a lot of business and life coaches do. Is you kind of take people that have already financially made it, and then help them with the rest of their life. Am I correct? Am I kind of on base there?
A little bit off. We do life, business, and wealth by design through products, training, resources, online events, in-person events, and membership programs, and we do partnerships. So we don't work with beginners. But it is normally somebody's having a little bit of success, but maybe the wheels are falling off.
Just want to amp it up a little bit.
Yep. And we'll help them optimize it with the goal of getting to an exit and creating legacy style wealth and then creating some kind of impact that they want on the world. Gotcha.
So just to start off, if you kind of just give us a little bit of background about yourself. Just kind of like where you started. I mean, I already know it, but and just kind of tell us like where you started and kind of how you got to where you are and what caused you to want to get there.
Yeah, I always tell people I'm a survivor of a very bad parent divorce, which put me on my own at 15 years old. So if you're on your own at 15, you know how to pretty much eat peanut butter and jelly and oodles and noodles or ramen noodles. Like that's what you live off of. I was an electrician by trade. I graduated a vocational school because it's like you're either fit for college or you're fit to be a plumber or electrician. So I became an electrician, and then grew a company from under $1 million to 32 million. So just in 2017, I had 200 employees, 165 trucks, 32 million a year, double-digit profit, and then I sold that company for a walkaway deal. Signed my name. Never went back. And in 2014, I started a coaching company. So I was coaching over 1,000 business owners all over the United States, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, worked with over 20,000 service companies in a company called CEO Warrior. And then I sold that in 2020 for a really amazing deal too. And that's what brought me to start Food Dog Group, which now we work with people in probably about 10 different countries. And helping them create life, business, and wealth by design.
Okay. Yeah, you have some pretty amazing mentors. I was looking at your LinkedIn. I could be wrong, but I would have to say that you probably spent as much money on some of that coaching and training as you did on some of your other investments, right? I mean, that you got some pretty probably more, yeah. And I've heard from many coaches that, the best investment you can make is continuous life coaching and mentoring and that sort of thing. And I imagine you probably still do that.
Yeah, people will. I'm going to give a number, and most people listening to it is going to think it's complete horseshit, but it's true. It's over 3.8 million
That you spent in training and coaching?
in training, coaching, mentoring programs. I mean, we spent $250,000 last year alone, and we'll spend $250,000 this year on expert training coaches, groups that I'm in, because like the minute you think you're the smartest person, everything starts to unwind.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're around really smart people, you learn how to move a lot faster, a lot quicker than anybody else.
Right.
Okay, Mike. Well, one thing that stuck out to me. Well, first of all, my name is Tremel. I'm kind of filling in for Jason.
Sorry, yeah, this is Tremel.
I'm filling in for Jason. I'm a co-host. And I get to kind of do this all over again. So that's great. Check out my episode if you didn't. My episode came out. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but make sure you watch it. Also, I'm a YouTuber, so go ahead and subscribe, tell all your friends, your family. But one thing that stuck out to me is you said oodles and noodles. Where are you from? I'm from East Chicago. I'm like from like urban atmosphere and things like that. So to hear like a Caucasian man say oodles and noodles is like it's very new to me. So Mike, where are you from? Tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, New Jersey. I'm from an Italian family. My dad was an Italian, and so we learned how to eat a lot. And New Jersey, I was in central New Jersey. Now I live down the Jersey Shore, which is beautiful. The beach is right there, the
Yeah.
bay is right there. But that's where I was born and raised.
Okay. And did you ever watch the show like Jersey Shore?
Yeah, but don't let that show make like, that show. Well, maybe if you go down the boardwalk down here, and then too many people watch the show, and that's how they are. But that's not my interpretation of what Jersey should be
Okay.
looked at or look like.
Okay. Okay.
What would you say that one of your kind of like your typical clients look like? Like who, you don't have to give any names, but who would you say like one of your standard average clients would be?
Well, right now, if you went 2020, my client was a plumber, an HVAC guy, an electrician. Today, we have one of the top AI experts in the world. We have CEOs of hospitals. We have top hormone, thyroid doctors. We do have some tradespeople. We have auto mechanics. It's almost like I don't know if you ever heard the term, like the food my mom used to make it. It's called Polish goulash. It's like where you just throw a whole bunch of stuff in a bowl, stir it up, and call it dinner.
I've heard goulash, not Polish goulash, but I've definitely heard that.
I never heard any of it. I heard a chili mac.
A little bit of beans, some noodles. That's what they call it.
Okay.
So you have a pretty wide array, but still in that bracket, right? Like that you said, usually it's the people that have already achieved some success and they're just trying to take it up to the next level. If someone, let's just say somebody had the kind of money that they could afford some kind of like these kind of trainings or the kind of trainings that you partake in, would you say that it would be highly beneficial for someone like that to start in this area and then go the other way as opposed to in reverse? Because it sounds like you really work with them on their overall life, and I would think that to be happy, satisfied, and grateful with your current life, you could probably do a lot more in the business world.
Yeah. From scaling 2 companies and doing over 500 million in sales in about the last decade in my companies, I do believe what they say. It's 80% psychology. It's why I wrote the book Mind Power. And because, and I know people think this way, like, oh, it's all about, they say it's about being positive, which is not true. It's about being balanced between positive and negative so that one of them doesn't outweigh the other. So I do believe if you don't start there. Now, years ago when I started coaching plumbers, HVAC guys, I thought if I just gave them marketing, sales, operations systems, financial excellence, they would just figure it out. But as I was giving them marketing, sales, and operations, they still weren't moving forward because their head was jacked up with old belief systems of what's possible. So you have to. I've yet to see anybody not work on themselves and scale anything of any huge size at all.
Okay, so could you break down the name Food Dog? Like, what is your like meaning behind it, where you get the name from? Did you ever have any other names and you were like, no, this sounds like shit, I ain't gonna use this, you know? So like, have you ever had any names that you thought you wanted before you kind of narrowed down to the name now?
Yeah, and I just did a marketing training where I spoke about the difference between a boutique name and a basic name. A basic name's like Joe's Plumbing. A boutique name can be scaled. It's like Google, Yahoo, what the heck's that? And the company I built before this, which will frame this one, was called CEO Warrior. You didn't know what CEO Warrior was. You didn't know it was a plumbing, heating, cooling, electric type to serve blue collar workers. Food Dog, when we came up with that, now I have a martial arts background. So I've been doing martial arts for about 38 years now. And I don't know if you know what food dogs are. Food dogs are these mystical lion dogs. They're male and they're female. And you normally see them outside these like emperor castles. And building a company like CEO Warrior, it was 99% men. It was always out of balance, right? Too much testosterone, not enough balance. And when we were deciding on this name, that's what we came up. I said, let's call it Food Dog and let's call it Group because we wanted to have it to feel bigger. But nobody knows what the heck it is. So when I first came out with it, they said, this is the stupidest name. Brilliant marketers told me, I said, that's a dumb name. Nobody's going to know. And I stayed true to it. And then I walked in the airport, Nick, and someone said, what's that Food Dog thing? And I said, well, let me explain it to you. Now, we do say it another way. Sometimes people say F you dog, and we say that only applies when you annoy us.
Okay.
Food Dog came about.
I mean, it could go either way, right? I mean, it depends on
the setting,
on the situation. Yeah.
Depends on what part of New Jersey you're
at what part of New Jersey.
Yeah. And if you're on Jersey Shore, then it's probably the F U
It
dog.
probably is the F U dog. You know that they wouldn't say Food Dog. They're like, oh, F U dog. What's that? You know? Well, so you were talking about, like belief systems and how, those were instilled at an early age and all that. Is that, I mean, not to pull from just one, but is that a Tony Robbins, like, is that an NLP, like Tony Robbins kind of thing that you're talking about? Because I love, that is so fascinating to me, NLP and all that. I love the idea of someone getting in my head, taking out some of the old belief systems and putting something positive back in.
Yeah, I don't think. Look, I think people brought it to mainstream, right? Even people like Brian Tracy, Jack Canfield. If you read the book Think and Grow Rich, that has stuff in there. So I don't think it's a mainstream thing. I feel it's something that's been around a long time. And the reason why I went down the quest of this to solve even this limiting belief thing or belief systems was because when you're on your own really young, you start to question everything. Right? Did I cause the divorce? Was I part of this? Why did I have to figure this stuff out? What I do believe it is it's an understanding of why you do everything, why your relationships are successful, why you have wealth or don't have wealth, why you could scale a company or don't scale a company. Let me give you a quick example. This is how, for everybody listening, how beliefs come about. When I was a kid, I found a nickel on the ground, maybe 5 years old. And I said, basically, I was like, Mom, here's a nickel. He says, oh, that's really good, Michael. Now go wash your hands. Money is dirty. Now, you think, because today, if I started flipping hundreds at you, you wouldn't yell at me like, oh, those are dirty, take them away. But the reality is that thought still sits inside your mind. And what about maybe your grandparents? Money is evil. My dad used to tell me money doesn't grow on trees. And then when my company was doing about 20 million, I went to my dad and I said, you told me something that wasn't true. And he said, what? I said, you told me money doesn't grow on trees. He said, well, it doesn't. That's what my dad taught me. I said, yeah, but if you own lemon trees, apple trees, pear trees, you could pick it and sell it for money. And this is where it clicked for me, guys. He said to me, I only taught you what my dad taught me and his dad taught him. That's the framing of belief systems that are holding most people back. Now, they did what your parents told you, what they thought was beneficial, right? Like, Don't cross the road until you look both ways and this stuff. They tried to help you, but you have to ask yourself a question. Is how you think those things, is it true? And do you still want it to be true?
Mm. So it's like not only are you in the business of helping people, but it sounds like you're in the business of breaking generational curses. Like you are reconstructing not only your own mind but people's mind, but like on a spiritual note, like the energy and the atmosphere around you to not only build what you want to for yourself, but for, people to come after you. And then another point that stuck out to me is you said it's good to kind of stay true to yourself. So how would staying true to yourself and breaking generational curses play hand in hand?
Yeah, well, it comes down to identity. When I started to scale a coaching company, I went out there and I had this button down shirt, no tattoos out, and slacks, and this jacket. And I came home one day and I told my wife, this is killing me. This isn't me. And she said, well, just stop. I threw out everything. I put on a t-shirt and jeans and I said, the world's going to take me like this or don't take me at all. See, it comes down to identity. And your identity has been modeled. I mean, a lot of people say this, like, what's the role of a leader? They say to build other leaders. No, no, no. The role of a leader is to model a behavior so well, others want to follow it. So not only, Jason, do I want to break the chains of the past, I want to make sure the new changes you make don't die in the future. Let me ask both of you a question. You might know did both of you know your father's father? Yeah?
Really. I did.
Maybe not. Okay, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, did you know your father's father's father?
I didn't. Only the cool stuff I heard about him, but yeah, never knew him.
And you didn't know your father's 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 father?
Definitely not.
So just imagine how fast you've become in the world non-existent of what you did. So it means that unless you made a generational shift, something real paramount, you're going to disappear in just one more slight generation. You'll just disappear.
Yeah, that's scary.
It could be a thought. And that's kind of, when I think about that, I say to myself, now I've written 28 different books now. I got a couple more right now for a couple of reasons. I don't want just the book there. I want the theory, the philosophy, my thinking that carries on here, or even carries if we go interstellar, which will probably be there before we know it, because I don't want to be just a something that disappears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also kind of like what Trammell was saying is changing that generational curse. Handing that down to your kids. I know that I had great parents, but I know that I do things very different than they did because I try to. You always want your kids to be and do a little bit better than what you do.
100%. And I would say, me personally, I'm actually currently, as we speak, breaking generational curses. I have so many different things that I did, from going to the first to go to college to the first to move out of state. I used to live in Houston, Texas before I moved back to Indianapolis, Indiana. So I have done a lot. So that speaks volume to me. Even this tattoo on my forearm, it's Swahili for your curse breaker. So it's really important to me. So the fact that you are an individual who loves to help people, but also in the back of your mind is like I said, you're breaking generational curses, and you're kind of giving the childhood you a second chance at life through other bodies, other living organisms around you. And I feel like that's really powerful.
Yeah. And if you asked me, Mike, if you had the gift or you were to summarize what is the thing you really do, I would say we've removed shame, guilt, and traumas. And until you're willing to shatter shames, guilt, and traumas, which most people are dealing with something, look, you guys are running this, which means someone else, you might feel guilty, someone else that you believe should have a show doesn't have a show. And as you hit levels of success, people shame you for your success. If you go on Facebook and say, oh, I just bought a new house, one person will say congrats, and 5 people will say, well, why'd you get that? And, oh, do you need such a big house? And do you need to live in New Jersey?
Market's horrible right now. Why are you buying a house in this market? Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
man, this is crazy. Mike, let me tell you something. Hold your thought. This right here is confirmation, because me and my wife was literally just talking about this. I was like, I'm just coming out now of being like a people pleaser and kind of just going with the motions, let things roll off my back, let people say what they want to me in the moment, and I just deal with it in my own private time. But like just recently, I kind of broke out of that, and I actually had to like confront certain people and like certain conversations that I don't want to have, or things that I want to say about myself, or speaking up. I'm just doing that now and not giving but not giving a fuck about what people got to say. You know what I mean? So the fact that you're coming on here saying the same things is just confirmation on like I'm doing the right things or taking the right steps, because you're a person who's very successful, and it's like to a certain extent you have that mentality as well. So to me, that's really cool.
Yeah, and what I've learned through the years is one, and just kind of process this a minute. There's no right, wrong. There's no good, bad. There's no positive or negative. There's only the definition you or someone else chooses to give it. And then if it doesn't meet up to your fantasy, well, then you look at it as bad. If it meets up to your fantasy, then it's good, right? Because that's the danger about social media today. And I love social media because I can control myself. A lot of people say, like my mom, she should not watch the news, right? She can't handle it. Like the thing that happened on the news yesterday, she's like texting me. I'm like, Mom, handle that. Me, people tell me I don't watch the news. I say, why not? I watch the news. It doesn't bother me. Why don't you learn to control your own mind, and then you can watch anything with a sense of curiosity versus judgment. And in social media, you're constantly in a debate of the comparison effect. You're like, look at that. That guy was an idiot in high school, but he's got a big house, a big car, and a beautiful wife. Why don't I?
Yeah.
And or you have the comparison effect. It sounds like you guys may have children. I have a 22-year-old daughter.
Yeah, that's my child.
Yeah, but what about like, and I didn't know any better. You give him a Barbie doll as a kid. You're like, here, play with this. The perfect top, the perfect bottom, compare yourself to this. And the minute you don't meet that in your mind as a little girl, you start thinking, well, let me not eat food. Let me throw up and starve myself because I don't meet Barbie and I don't meet Ken's model. And then you show her Ken. So her whole perception is if you don't have a six pack, then probably not going to be a good relationship in the future. So all of this goes back to your question about the mind. It's driving anything. Now, you mentioned NLP. Look, all tools have a place, but some tools only go to one level. You can't consciously just say, I'm going to be positive, because it goes to your subconscious. And a lot of people stop there and they don't say a minute, well, wait a minute, is there something beyond the subconscious? They call it the superconscious. That's where you start tapping in and understanding that you are an energy. And you guys know this. You walk in you could be having a party and that one person walks in and everybody turns because you could feel something just came in, right?
Yeah. What the thing that turned me on to NLP and what made me really interested was I had heard a talk about reframing, and basically, I mean, I know I'm not telling you anything new, but basically the short of it was perception is reality. So pretty much your perception is bullshit, and you can change it, you can mold it or make it whatever you want. Like since it doesn't actually exist, since it's an illusion, you can literally make yourself or your view whatever you want it to be. And that just kind of like really stuck with me, and that was kind of the foundation of when I first even came across that. So that's why it fascinates me so much, because I can honestly say that talk changed the way that I looked at things a little bit. Like I don't have to be how I may have seen myself for years before then.
And I have a question for you, Mike. So kind of stepping back into like the 8-year-old you, like when you were 8 years old, what did you see for yourself as far as like your future? Like, are you living your future, and do you feel like you're living your purpose now, or did you think you were going to do something else, or what was your thoughts when you were 8 years old?
Yeah, I thought I was going to become a doctor. I was a young kid that, always took care of people when they got hurt. And for probably a decade, I told everybody, for decades, I thought I'd be a doctor. And then I realized I am a doctor, just in a different way. I mean, if you look at a doctor, well, maybe not traditional medicine. I have my own opinions of that. But let's talk about a good doctor that their goal is to what? keep you healthy, and make you stay healthy. And so I did end up in my purpose of it, just without the definition of Dr. Mike.
What would you say to people that you talk about purpose? What would you say to people that, I know a lot of people really struggle with finding their purpose. Okay. And I mean, what I've said to people in the past that have talked to me about that, and what I even have to say to myself is, with finding your purpose can be your purpose until you find your purpose. Like, do you agree with that statement? And like, maybe what would you say to somebody that kind of had those thoughts?
I say to somebody, find your values first, because when you find your 5 values and you start to live within your values, your purpose shows up. But it also doesn't mean your purpose doesn't change over time, because your purpose is when you're aligned with the belief of possibility. So if I look at my purpose at 15, it's to survive. That's it. And if I look at it at 19, it was to make money so I don't suffer. When I look at it at 23, it was to scale an empire was my purpose. When I look at it in my late 40s, when I hit 40, it was to change an industry. Now I'm level 54, and my purpose is to impact the globe by removing as much shames, guilt, and traumas as possible, and show a land of possibility to the normal person that doesn't think that they could have more than what they have. So I live within my purpose, and I feel like you have to go through all these cycles. If you guys are probably familiar with like the hero's journey or something. It's like you got to cycle through. Do you guys know the hero's journey?
No.
Oh, okay, well,
No.
Joseph Campbell, you guys should look it up later.
Okay.
He wrote a book and a theory called The Hero's Journey. In every major story, this camera, I love it. It like all of a sudden.
Yeah, you're like a wizard.
It's that eye thing, that eye tracking. Yeah, mine does it.
He's talking intense.
I like it. It's good effect.
It doesn't. But the hero's journey is all what most movies are built from. It's the journey, and then it's the mentor, and then it's the transition. You guys look it up. And I feel like people go through many lives of these heroes' journeys until they find the one journey that says, you know what? This is the place I need to be, and this is the place I'm going to go. How much impact? Like right now, we want to impact 1.2 million or more people in a decade or less. And we changed it. It was 1 million people, and we feel we're already tracking towards 1 million. So we moved it up another couple 100,000.
And those are just ones you track. You're just talking about ones that you can track, right? I mean, because I'm sure you've helped many more.
Oh, yeah. Because, you help one, they help others listen to this. Who knows how many people will listen, and then they have their kids listen to it. So I also think people put themselves under a lot of stress to find, like, what's my... Look, if you need more money, that's your
purpose. Yeah. Yeah.
Figure out how to make money. But I think it is confusing because so many people take on these belief systems. Like, I remember years ago, a big book everybody read was like the 4-Hour Work Week. Did you ever?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Different. So everybody loved this book, including me. And then I said to myself one day, if I only want to do what I'm doing for 4 hours a week, I probably should stop it because I probably hate it. Why would I only want to do it for 4 hours a week if I love it? I have a big problem here. Let me get rid of that and do something. That's why I'm here. When you ask me, like, how's Sunday? I'm like, all right. So my wife's cooking chicken. We'll eat at 6:30. We'll go for a walk later. We'll bike ride again when the rain stops, because this is not something we do Monday through Friday. And I just did a post about that. When you have to live within Monday and Friday, you don't have a life. You just have different versions of jail cells. That's all you have.
Right. You're just learning to suffer in less, what is it Wayne Dyer used to say? So like suffer in more comfort.
Yeah. So like when you talk about removing doubt, shame, and so forth and so on with people, in the moment, that can be someone's truth. Like they can think, oh, this is my truth right now. I'm going to sit in this because, I might not have another way out. So would you say that truth is subjective?
Well, not your truth, but how someone else perceives the truth could be. And if everybody, I learned a phrase probably 3 decades ago, and the phrase is, would you consider this? Would you consider listening to what I said? Would you consider? Because let's face it, the whole world is built off of a polarity of create and destroy, right? I mean, what happened just yesterday, and I don't know if it's appropriate to say it or not. And
Yeah, you're fine.
yeah, so like if you look what happened to Trump, like it's polarity.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of people saying to themselves, how does this affect my life? What do I want my life to improve? Right away, everybody wants to debate. Is it true, not true? Do you like this side? You know the side I like? The one that helps people live better. The one that teaches them. I don't care. I want no side.
Yeah, me too.
I want
Stay agnostic with that.
a quality of life that makes people live longer and not die sooner. So when it comes to truth, I believe it's your truth is your truth until you evaluate a new truth. And my whole life is constantly challenging truths. Look, and I think it's probably okay to say here, and people listen to it, maybe they'll send me the middle finger on Facebook or something, but I have people all the time at my events at different things, and I used to be a Catholic, then I became a Buddhist, then I became spiritual, and people would tell me about God, and I said, can you invite them to the event tomorrow, because I need to hang out a little bit. But people believe what they can't see until it changes and they go, now I see it. Now their belief raises. Your truth raises when you have proof of your truth. Otherwise, do you really know if you don't even know where the beginning and end of space is? Like, look at all the unknowns of truths. You have no idea. Why does I have a friend right now that I love dearly. And I know him for 25 years. This guy fucking drinks oregano oil, physically fit, martial artist for 25 years. Testicular cancer.
Yeah.
From where? From what?
Right.
So what is the truth there that if you eat this way, you won't get it? So I think we're always questioning the truth. And in the end, it's when you go to bed at night, are you good with your own truth?
Yeah. Well, one thing I like about your system and some of your views are it's not that you're creating all this new stuff. You've done all this studying and are pulling all kinds of principles from, things that have actually proven to be true and proven to work. And a lot of times, I think a lot of times with some of the business systems and some of the the new self-help things, it's such a fad that you can get obsessed about a fad, and that itself can cause you stress and mess with your life.
And it's so corny and overdone. I feel like I don't know much about you, but one thing that stuck out is you saying oodles and noodles, because I grew up hearing that all the time in my household. And then the fact that you just said your wife is cooking chicken. Is she cooking fried chicken?
No, it's not fried chicken.
Okay.
Because we're trying to look. I love fried chicken.
Okay. I was gonna say you 2 for 2, Mike. I might have to hop on the train with you.
I've eaten a lot of it, but no, I just removed dairy and cheese. I'm about 3 days, and I got to tell you, I'm a massive cheese eater. So don't do what I do. But back to what you were saying. Everybody takes on these new things that are coming. And they always ask me. I don't know why people ask me. They say, "Hey, Mike, you're so successful. What's your morning routine?" Like they get the interpretation. I wake up at 4:30. I sniff butterfly asses. I cold plunge, and I have a miracle morning and whatever. And I say, no, I would throw up if I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. I'd vomit. I get up at 7:30, whatever. No alarm clock. I pick up my phone. I go on effing Facebook. I scroll and look for what's happening. And you know what someone said to me? They said, Mike, it's proven if you don't go on social media in the morning, you'll be way more successful. So I said to them, how's business going for you? And
Right.
they said, horrible. I said, when you wake up in the morning, you should go and fuck social media.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not. So my daughter said it to me. She might have been 10 years old. I don't know what the situation was. She said, Dad, You do you, boo. And, and if you think about that, how free would all of us be if you just did you? I'll give you one more and I'll hand it back to you guys. I have a coach slash therapist I worked with for a decade and a half, helped me solve my own things. And I call her my hippie mom because she's very hippie like. And she said to me, you know what, Mike? The minute you open up the kimono, and this, I don't know, maybe you got to beep this out. I don't know who you're listening to.
No, you're good. You're good.
When you open up the kimono and everybody sees you got little balls, there's nothing else to talk about. They all know you got little balls. You're free now.
There you go.
Have little balls or anything.
There you go. Yeah.
Think about this. When you open up the kimono and say, this is what I did, and I'm not happy, I'm not sad. I'm not going to shame myself. I'm not going to guilt myself. It's just what it was at that time, and now I do different. How free would everybody be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I was at this conference in Chicago this past week, and one of the speakers said, "Own the bad, own it, and because once you own it, then you can either change it or you can accept it. I mean, if it's not something you can change, then you can at least learn to accept it. And who even says that it's bad to begin with? Depending
You
on
want to be twisted up a little bit?
Yeah.
If you want to twist yourself up a little bit, spend a little time on this theory, and it will free you from anything. I don't care if you have aches, pains, whatever's happening. Mind, you can't stand thoughts, you talk negative about yourself. When you could find the upside to all the bad things and the downside to all the good things, until there's point, it's neutral, you'll remove so much suffering. I don't care what it is. And the example I always use is this. If a tsunami, you guys know, a big wave comes in, it kills 100,000 people. Is it good or bad? You would say it's bad, 100,000 people. But wait a minute. If it was 10 years later, it would have killed maybe 100 million. But because of that, we put in alarms, evacuation things. So was that tsunami good or bad? Now people have conflict, right? And this is how I did it. My dad passed in November, and people couldn't understand what my grief looked like compared to everyone else. Everyone else, they said, you got to I wear black anyway, but you have to wear black and be doom and gloom, and you have to cry for a long time. You got to get depressed. You have to go under the blankets. I said, why? First off, my dad had such a belief system. He said to me, the day I go, it means his maker's ready for him and he can't wait to meet him. What am I crying about? My dad was excited to go there. So when I look at that, I said, okay, let me look. What was all the benefits? Benefit, my dad wasn't afraid. Benefit, my dad, I was able to see how many things he impacted. Benefit, all the things I judged about my dad, when he passed, I found out a lot of stuff I was judging him for. I'm doing the same fucking thing in a different form that I didn't realize. What was the downside? I couldn't hug him on Father's Day. I couldn't, I couldn't, he wasn't going to respond to a text message. So when I go to bed, you guys hear these people talk about gratitude, right? Every night I go to bed, I do my gratitude exercise. And I said, okay, well, tell me what you're grateful for. Oh, my friends, my family, the food, my company, my employees. I go, okay, you're so out of balance. You should stop this exercise. And they go, what do you mean? I said, you didn't share everything you were grateful for that wasn't good, that you perceived. You weren't grateful you got a flat tire? How do you even know that flat tire didn't keep you from being on that bridge that got crashed by a boat? So if you want to balance yourself out, anybody listening, and do what I believe is the most powerful gratitude, there's 3 gratitudes. Ready? I'll give it to everybody. Gratitude for what you have. That's the simple one. Everybody does that. Gratitude for what you normally don't like. Be grateful for. And here's the super 1, 2, 3, 5 punch. Gratitude for what's coming that you identified. Like I'm grateful for the $50 million company I'll have in the next 24 months. I'm grateful for the trip that we're going to go. I don't even know the trip, but I know we're going to go to a trip. When you put those 3 gratitudes in place, it's like jet fuel of gratitude exercise.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. The main reason that I don't do the gratitude list thing, but one thing that I firmly believe though is if you don't, even if you're not doing all the things like you're talking about with gratitude, it'll never be enough unless you appreciate the things that you have, you know, and because I even I've heard you say this on one of your videos. You know, how many billionaires do you know that are just miserable? You know, I mean, because it's never enough. You know, it's never enough. They're not grateful for what they have. But I really like that though. Like, you know, be grateful for not only the obvious and good things, but also the, you know, the what other people would consider to be bad things. How long have you been practicing that?
I trained 19 years with a martial arts instructor in an underground dojo, and he was like this business, like this badass martial arts Buddhist kind of priest, teacher during the day, and that's decades I've been practicing that.
That's really powerful. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit more. So like the first day of Food Dog, like the first day launching per se, when you first got on the ground, take me back to that moment. How was that day?
Well, I'll give you the day it was created, and then we'll talk about the first day. Um, my wife and I just sold my second big company. And it was like a week later, and I went to someone that was working with me over a decade. He's a partner now with me and my wife, Aaron. And I said to him, let's just, like, it's a week later. Let's put together an event. And we called it Seekers of Power. And I was going to show people things that they have no comprehension. Like, yeah, okay, people have done firewalking. Like, I firewalk, but nobody ever watched anybody stand still in the coals for 20 minutes and not move. Like, you don't see that. So I was going to break the paradigms of what everybody thought was possible. So we built this event, and then we were at dinner at this little restaurant, and we created the name. Right after that, there's a moment where, like, in the book, it's called the Unfettered Mind. If you ever want to read a book, small book, very powerful book, and he talks about the moment between the spark and the stone. It's the moment that co-manifestation happens. Co-manifestation is when you believe, I believe, and they believe. It's an ignition that happens. If I go back to that day, we just hit the social platforms and said, "Here we are. Watch this movement unfold starting now." And we never looked back since then. We're about 3.5 years into it. We've broken every boundary. We've kept more marriages together. We've created more decamillionaires than anybody that I know by aligning all aspects of them. And that's the first day. I mean, when you wake up and your feet hit the ground and your hands go up and you just know you're a champion because you woke up, everything changes. And that's what that first day is, that ignition right there.
Man, that's powerful because when you say when your feet hit the floor, and you feel like a champion, I would say I kind of implement that in my own life because when my feet hit the floor, one foot is on a hoe's neck and then the other foot is on a positive path. So, I really like that comment. You got to keep your foot down, not only in a positive path, but on people who might try to bring negativity into your atmosphere when you don't need it or it's unwanted per se. So I would say this is a powerful conversation. Definitely loved it, needed it. Like I said, confirmation to literally what I was just talking about this whole weekend of just being in this realm of freedom for me. Like I'm still so young. I have much to learn. I'm only 24. So I have a lot to learn, but just this little short segment talking to you, like it brings to life to what I believe should be true in my life.
And people, listen, people don't bring you negativity. They don't. They bring you opportunity, is what they do. It's opportunity for you to see how you'll react. Opportunity. Now that I know your age, my son is 25. You guys should interview my son on here. You'll get half my life of what he is and who he does. He's got a big beard and tattoos and a nose ring, and he coaches like decamillionaires today, and he's 25. Yeah. And he's been an author since he's 17 years old, deadly martial artist, and he coaches people 2 and 3 times their age. You guys should consider having him on. just to get this whole other perspective of what he does. But when I look at it, I don't see negativity, people. I don't see drama. I don't see whining. I see the opportunity for me first when people are bringing what the world frames as negativity, what they're bringing is their own personal suffering, right? And so I step back and say to myself, I don't know their situation. I don't know what they dealt with. I don't know their past. I don't know what happened to them as a kid. But I know when they were born, they were not a baby that opened its eyes and said, I want to be an asshole.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
They didn't open their eyes and say, I want to treat people horrible. They didn't open their eyes and say, I hope someday I got to fight, addiction and all these different things. I don't, a guy that I trained with a long time ago, I'll share this. I feel it's a lot of power for the listeners. He said to me, you're born perfectly fine. Through life, you get unfine with the hopes of someday getting back to perfectly fine. And I heard this 30 years ago, and I've pondered it every year for 30 years and got back to the moment you're fine is when you're free exactly where you stand today. You don't care how your hair is. You don't care if someone likes tattoos, don't like tattoos. You just live in a space of bliss. And you know how you know, this is how you'll know really, really successful people, guys, like successful in what I would say holistically balanced. They have nothing. They have nothing. If you looked, I want nothing. I don't even want this house. I don't want anything. And because you know why? Because when you hit a level of success, you actually want to free yourself from every single distraction. Let this one settle in. My instructor 40 years ago said, Mike, you'll either own material things or material things will own you. And I've spent my whole life looking at the opportunity, after we're done here, I'll go eat dinner with my wife. My daughter's healing from COVID right now, but I'll slap my wife's ass. I'll hug her. We'll eat. We'll watch a series or something. We'll go for a walk. That's all I want to focus on.
That's fair. I love that. Yeah.
To show you a Lamborghini. I don't need to show you a boat and a car. And I'm not against those things if
right.
people want it. But a lot of people are unhappy with all those things.
Mm-hmm. Or finance them.
Man, right. I'm telling Mike, I'm gonna take it. No more negative people. It's just their life. All right, Mike. So next time I got it's opportunity. So I'm gonna tell myself, what will Mike do? What will Mike think? And then I go from there.
There you go. Yeah. So okay. So I'm gonna here in a second. I want you to make sure you let us and everybody else know, where we can find you, all that stuff, and I'll make sure that we have that listed in the show notes, the description, all that. But I'm sure I would guess that you probably listened to or at least have heard of Lewis Howes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know how at the end of his show he always says he talks about the three things, like if if this was your last day on earth and everything you owned, all your teachings, all your writing, everything had to go away, but you could still keep three things to impart wisdom on the future. So just to kind of go along those lines, if you can just only give three pieces of advice or even a couple that just kind of can condense some of your stuff down, what would you say to some of the listeners that are maybe struggling right now with, confidence? They don't, they're not, success isn't even a thought for them right now. They're just trying to figure out how they can make themselves feel like they matter. What would you say to those people?
Yeah. Number one, I would say get rid of the term mindset, because mindset is a program that's keeping people stuck. See, my dad was a mason. And if you poured concrete in your mind, it would be set. You know what that means? It's stuck. Mm-hmm. So I would tell people, focus on mind growth every day. Just think something that expands your thinking. Because number two is mastery. So one, don't do mindset, do mind growth. Number two, focus on mastery. You know what mastery is? It's being better tomorrow than you are today by intention. By intention, that's it. Every morning I wake up, I want to be better. I want to do better. I want to feel better. I want to have happier. I want to master the art of relationship. And I'm with my beautiful wife, Jennifer, since we're 15.
That's
guys.
amazing. That is amazing.
And I'm 54, which means, like, I still miss some of the signs when we're in an argument. Like, I still don't get it till it's way too fucking late. So I'm still on a quest for mastery. And people are confused about mastery. They think of that, kung fu master on the mountain. I figured it all out. Hell no. Mastery is so exciting because you're chasing the dragon that just seems to keep running a little bit faster, and it just makes you on a quest to run a little bit quicker. Number 3, get rid of these childhood stories you were taught. The tortoise and the hare. That fucking turtle never won a race in a million years. You know how I know? Well, first off, they eat a lot. I've eaten a lot more turtle soup than rabbit soup. You know what that means? That turtles get run over all the time in the road. But you don't see a lot of rabbits being run over. You know what that means? Slow and steady doesn't win the race no more. I don't think it ever did. You have to get up, move a little quicker and a little smarter. And I'll give you a bonus one. Question your thoughts of your past, because they are creating your immediate future. Your thoughts of your past, everything that happened. And a lot of people, well, you guys are young, but maybe you've heard of like the Commodore 64 computer.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a lot.
Nick is not young. Nick is old.
I'm a lot older than Tramel.
Okay. So the Commodore 64 computer, which I had one friend that knew how to push enough ones and zeros to make a little Pac-Man thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not on a Commodore 64 computer running this thing right now.
Right.
But people are still functioning with the same thinking processing that they've had. My dad, he was the same guy for the last 30, 40 years of his life. He said, why do I have to change? I'm good the way I am. But then in the end of his life, he didn't have the money he wanted. He had suffering and stuff, right? So the last part I would say is stop running your life like you're running that mind on a Commodore 64 computer. So there's a bunch for you.
That's great. Great stuff.
Mike, you might be a good reality person now. I'm just saying, you might want to look into Jersey Shore reboot. I don't know.
Yeah, or hey, no. Jersey Shore boot camp. You whip them all into shape. You know what I mean? Like, listen, this is how we're doing it. I love it. That's great. Real quick, okay, I wasn't planning on asking this, but you were talking about martial arts, and something I've kind of noticed with a lot of very successful people that are happy. That seems to be a kind of a common theme. Would you say would you say you'd recommend that to most everyone, like some sort of martial arts or some kind of discipline like that?
People have asked me if you could just sum it down to one thing and only one thing you can do at the beginning of your life that you felt has given you the advantage. I would tell you it's martial arts. And it's not all martial arts. I'm not talking about, jujitsu, getting in the octagon, getting punched in the face and sniffing someone's ass while they arm bar.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a form of martial arts that just makes you get more focused, more disciplined. So I'm a big fan. I also believe, in other places like Japan and China, martial arts is mandatory in the school systems. So everyone has an equalizer. Like, if you're going to pick on that kid, you could be sure that kid knows how to punch.
Yeah, that's great. I bet they have many. Yeah, I'm sure they have far less, gun crime and that sort of thing over there. I don't know. But.
Yeah, no, it's a fact. So I do believe that martial arts. I believe it's any age. It's never too late to start. You don't have to be trying to kick the ceiling and stuff. And they have so many different forms of it. And it is a function. Now, look, I think yoga and all those things are good. It has to be something that's moving the physical body. Martial arts creates a sense of certainty inside and out. And I'm a huge fan of it. I still do it today, and I've trained all kinds of disciplines over the years. So, if you don't do it, everybody should do it.
Is there a certain kind that you recommend, like a certain form for somebody that, so they don't go out and do, like a jiu-jitsu or something like that?
Yeah, I'll answer that. And make sure if you interview my son is like the American Ninja. Like, I have a picture of him as a baby, 5 months old, in the dojo.
Wow.
So he's literally
grew up in there.
Baby, I was moving his hand. And don't tell him this on your show, but you can. Like he's way deadlier and way bigger than me, so I'm gonna have to like stab him while he sleeps and stuff.
Yeah, you still got that dad card though. I like to think I can still step at my kids, even though they might be able to just kick me in the knee. You know, like I like to think that I have that. You know,
throw salt in the eye or something.
Yeah, right. Something.
But you know, it depends on what you want. If your body's physical condition and you're just looking for like a combat thing with some endurance, Muay Thai will get it done. If you're looking for a side of like combat where you don't have to kill your body, a form Sistema, it's a Russian martial arts good. I'm from 3 different forms. Well, 4. One's Daijuru Aiki Jiu-Jitsu, which was the traditional fighting against samurai. So if you want to know where arm bars and all that stuff comes from, that's from Daijuru Aiki Jiu-Jitsu. I'm also from Shorin Karate, so I have a big background, which is your traditional, you know, punching, kicking, blocking, elbowing, so that, and all the weaponry. With some people, I say, if you don't want to train martial arts, just learn knife training, man. Learn how to fight with a knife. And then Taru Waza Kenjutsu. So I was trained for 20 years with live sword, which is the original Kenjutsu, like draw out a blade. And my instructor was wild. Like we would, you know, hold a razor sharp sword on each other's neck, and you had to move in sequence, because if you didn't move good, you want to talk about control? You go back and forth, man. You're bleeding out in the dojo. But I also watched that guy cut a hornet out of the air with a samurai sword. So you got to pick the flavor. I'm not a big sports martial arts person, and I believe do the martial arts that's sustainable where you're at in life. To go train and get your arm cranked up, your neck cranked up, and then have to be successful in your career, that's not a good plan. So
yeah. I mean, out of all those names, I cannot pronounce them, so I won't. But all I heard was, "I can kick your ass. I can kick your ass. I can kick your ass." That's all. I heard.
Well,
so I wouldn't want to mess with you.
See, well, they'll be on here. They'll be on here, so you can go back and be like, okay, now which one are me and Deasia going to go take together? Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Mike. If you don't mind, just give us a rundown of how everybody can find you and anything you got going on coming up, any seminars or webinars or anything like that.
Yeah, awesome. They could go to foodoggroup.com, just like it says here. That's our website. Find me on Facebook. Like, friend me. If you send me anybody, I didn't want this to be a drive-by. If someone sends me a message, it's not a bot. It's not a robot. It's not some creepy VA from a third world country looking at my stuff. It's me responding. I respect everybody too much. Also in September, we got some cool things coming up. We have one called Venture Velocity. It's in a private house right down the Jersey Shore. It's only for 30 people. There's only 3 spots left. And it's how to scale a company really, really fast. How to do partnerships. So how to do partnerships with companies with $0 out of pocket. And then how to create exits. So you can exit and create massive wealth over and over again, just like I've done. We teach people the formula, and we do it in a very small group because I think people get lost in a crowd in 200-300 people or more, thousands. And we also got a 2-day event coming up in September, same house, a couple weeks before, called Speak Your Impact. And I'll send you links for this. That has 18 spots left. It's a 2-day. Our 2 days and 3 days are very different for everybody listening. We don't do that end at 5 and you try to convince me all the great shit happens at the bar. There's no alcohol at our events. There's no drugs. You're coming to learn. We go from 9 in the morning till 10 at night. You're leaving with a blueprint, not a bunch of ideas, things to execute on. And Speak Your Impact is about not speaking skills. It's how to unlock the superhuman in yourself and bring yourself forward in a way that people, like, when you're communicating with them, you're delivering your message, you're creating your movement in the world. They just feel that ignition. And so that's a transformational event over 2 days. So Those are our things coming up in September.
Fantastic. All right. Well, hey, and if you want to email me your son's info when you give me those links, and I'll reach out to him. Maybe we could get you. Maybe at one point we could get you guys on there together, and you kind of.
That'd be amazing. You interview him, and then have us both on. That would be a lot of fun.
I like that idea. Okay. All right, sounds good, man. Well, hey, enjoy your dinner. Enjoy your walk with your wife. Sounds like you got a great thing going, and really, really nice having you. Learned a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yes, take care.